Wait, that mermaid's on my RM. It's probably fine. Okay, should be good now. Oh, what the? Welcome to Envy leveling, what could feasibly be called the antithesis of 1v1 leveling. You picked the 1v1 class for the chill leveling some people like so much. This is not for you, cause this definitely requires more of your attention than AoE leveling. So why do it at all? Cause you get better XP and better drops than grinding outside, of course, provided you do what you need to, which is using consumables and having an active RM. Damage consumables wise, you're going to want to use at least the ones listed in red here. They're pretty high impact, especially for the cost. Rabbit and Tiger Flask I know look pretty similar to Profuse Bleeding, but remember that they also cost 3 times as much, so I don't personally consider them worth using, but that's your choice to make. Feel free to skip out on the Power Scroll, they're really more of an HP item. Note this extra Lightine stone at the bottom for blades is because of the janky way element stones work. I didn't put it in red because blades aren't the only class in the game, even though the devs certainly act like it sometimes. But anyway, Lightine on the offhand is about as efficient as a Profuse Bleeding, unless you're using a wooden sword. For your Ringmaster, who has to be 141 plus and actively Holy Crossing, Moonbeaming, and probably healing for all this to work by the way, you're going to want to make sure they can hit 200% casting speed and have 500 int. Not too hard if you have a case on set. You can use a Bloody Stick or Legendary Golden if you need the int. If you're using the Golden Stick, you'll probably need to roll 1% casting speed on each fashion piece with Demon Blessings. Should take around 50 demons per piece, so 250 total. The consumables here are only needed if you don't hit the 200% casting speed and 500 int thresholds, so if you have that without the pots, you can skip them. Pressure hold is also technically optional, but removing that mental overhead is actually pretty relevant considering it's pretty dangerous in there. And finally, there's defensive consumables and amp, because you're doing this for the EXP, right? Anyway, given the mobs in here hit you for around 10k per hit, defensive consumables aren't going to reduce that number much. With that in mind, I generally recommend having 25k HP, which can be a surprisingly tall order. Eel and Lion Flask are pretty big, especially if you use them together. Beyond those though, there's not a lot of other options. Jesters can stay full strength and use Karanasa for tankiness. Other classes are better off adding around 75 stamina. Except Rangers, of course, who are probably going to be fine just being full dex and in their damage gear because of their range and block rate. Got all your stuff ready? Before you enter, don't forget your curses. Here are the recommended curses to use and their actual effects instead of the simplified descriptions they have in-game. As the dungeon window says, only the first person to enter needs to select curses. Everyone else entering after will benefit. Get buffed, stack your link attack and drop skills, pop your consumables, and let's start with Overgrown Sharks. The sharks, and really the rest of the dungeon, are typically fairly tightly packed. Given their damage and your relative squishiness, you're not going to want to run straight into a group. Instead, what you'll want to do is lure out 1 to 2 from a group at a time, and fight from a safe distance from the nearest mob. This obviously hurts your efficiency a bit, but hey, so does being dead. Your RM is well geared, they can pull for you so you waste less time on pulling. And this is why Shade's boost is so good. Makes them faster and take more damage. More like a blessing, really. Sharks don't really have anything special besides the occasional bleed that they can randomly apply with their auto attacks. I know the note here says unblocked damage, but what that means is the bleed will do the same amount of damage whether the hit that applied it was blocked or even if it crit. That said though, it's still easily healed through with lifesteal or heal rain. There's 72 overgrown sharks in the dungeon, and they are well separated from the next set of mobs, which are the Mermaid Beauties, so keep that number in mind. Sharks are the easiest mobs in here, so you don't want to miss any of them. Mermaid Beauties have this really annoying habit of casting at frequent but random intervals, which makes them very annoying to separate. The circles they cast apply Mind Shatter, which doesn't affect any of the classes who would be watching this. Unless you're that one weirdo doing 1v1 Sidekeeper, in which case you need your RM to goober Tiala you so you don't lose like 40% of your DPS. Anyway, just be smart about how you approach a group here. It's actually pretty easy to take 3 to 4 at once because they often stun themselves with their cast. If you don't see any safe angles to approach from, you can lure a mob from multiple packs and fight the first one while letting the others slowly approach. Towards the end of the mermaids, you'll find that they're mixed in with the cunning mermen. They, and fortunately the rest of the mobs in the dungeon, don't cast anything, so you can easily pull pairs of merman and mermaid where you fight the merman while the mermaid slowly approaches. Once you get to the cunning merman and lurking merman, you're going to want to put a little more effort into pulling just one at a time. When they die, they give out a buff called Pack Tactics to mobs with the same name. Pack Tactics will increase their damage by around 3k. The buff range is tiny, so it actually comes up pretty rarely, so it's not too much of a concern unless you have less than 20k HP, in which case it probably puts you in one-shot range. Hope you didn't forget about that 15% crit chance you gave them when you started. Got a good ringmaster, they can cover you with Barrier of Life or Holy Guard. The mermen, just like with mermaids, are mixed in with the giant turtles, especially the lurking mermen, which are very tightly packed and basically surrounded by the turtles. The turtles don't have any mechanics, but they do have 8,000 defense, which is about 7,900 more than any other mob in here. Roughly speaking, this means you'll do around 33% less damage. Sucks for us, but hey, that 1v1 sidekeeper watching this? Real smug right about now. They also have the highest damage out of anything here. Not massively so, but worth calling out I feel since they're dealing like 2k more than the sharks you started with. You want to make yourself a bit of a safety net because if your RM dying or whatever, there is a teleporter near the Siren mini-boss, so you could clear that way first if you need. And that should just about cover everything. A few things I need to address before I end here. You don't have to full clear. I know it can feel like you're missing out on XP by not clearing, and some people definitely overstress the importance of it. But the main point of this is to level faster than you would in Coral Island. As long as you're doing that, you're good. And don't be afraid to go all out on consumables. The ultimate jewel box drop should cover for the consumables you're using, especially if you're dual client with your own ringmaster. The more you use, the more you clear, so spending more will just cover for the consumables with more box drops anyway. Generally, it's not super difficult to play both characters here. Your main will just be auto-attacking and won't need any active attention anyway. And whatever you do, try not to let this happen.